guys, Gypsy back here once again, bringing you my week 2 match in the NPL. This week we're going up against Pomman, otherwise known as Aberforth. If you guys haven't checked out my team builder for this week, I definitely recommend you go and check it out. It does give a kind of a nice in-depth look into why I brought the mons and the sets that I did. And you know, I brought a few kind of crazy sets, so one in particular. So you know, if you guys want some insight, go and check it out. If not, that's fine. I will be kind of going over, you know, briefly why I brought the mons and what the sets are. So that's totally cool. But yeah, I recommend it if you're interested in that sort of thing. Looking at Pom's team, he has a pretty threatening team built around countering Mega Pinsir, I can tell, purely because he has the Mega Aerodactyl, the Rhyperior, and the Raikou. So that's kind of nice for me that we opted not to bring it this match. But he has threats, obviously. The Weezing poses a big threat to my Weavile. Starmie is going to be a menace depending on its set. However, my Mew is kind of built to take it on, so that shouldn't be too bad. Mega Altaria, it will be relatively easily handled by Metagross, Alomomola, and Whimsicott, respectively, once they determine its set. The Raikou is going to be interesting though. The Raikou could be potentially a problem, so I have to kind of take that out as soon as possible, or at least determine its set. I can play around with momentum from Zapdos, so I can use that to my advantage. Sub up, I can Volt Switch out on like subs, Carmines, go into my Whimsicott and Encore Lock it, and then U-turn out. Use Weavile to scare it out if need be. So just anyway, jumping into the team that I brought this week, we have Stallbreaker Mew with a lot of Speed F to take on the Starmie. I can eat an Analytic Hydro and then recover up on the next Hydro, which won't be Analytic boosted unless he's like Iron Ball or something crazy like that. So I'm carrying the Taunt. I'm carrying the Willow, the Roost, and the Stealth Rock. And the whole concept behind this Mew is that if you brought Cresselia, I could outspeed, and I could Willow. I could Willow and Taunt the Crest to stop it from setting up. You know, Taunt and then Willow. Nothing on his team really wants to take a Willow. Obviously, if he's like Cleric Altaria, then that can comfortably take a Willow. But I do have the Taunt, and I do have enough speed to outspeed max speed Jolly Altaria, so that's kind of nice for me. As well as the Starmie. The Starmie can, if it's Natural Cure, comfortably come in and take a Willow. But I can Taunt it and, you know, whittle it down with Willow if he's like a Life Orb set. That would be pretty nice for me, and I can just recover up in its face. Next up we have Weavile. It's hiding behind Metagross. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you'll definitely be seeing it do work in the match. If you look at his team, Aerodactyl, Starmie, Mega Altaria, even Rhyperior, if it's weakened, don't really want to take Weavile's stabs. I do see the Weezing standing in its way, but that's hopefully something we can play around. I feel as though if I play Weavile correctly, it should be able to put in a fair amount of work. Next up we have my AV Metagross. Weavile's just a standard Life Orb set, by the way. Enough speed to speed creep, base 115s. And the rest into attack, and the remaining into special defense to more easily take hits from the likes of Starmie and Raikou. So my next set is my AV Metagross. The reason I'm running AV on Metagross this week is to take on especially offensive Mega Altaria. If he's like a Cleric Mega Altaria with like, you know, like a defensive set with Flamethrower and Hyper Voice coverage, I'll be able to take it on even easier than if it's like max special attack. But even if it is, Metagross comfortably takes it on, appreciating Wish support from Alomomola, which is pretty nice. As you can see, Bullet Punch coverage is pretty nice against this team. I do have quite a bit. I have like 160 EVs into attack with the Adamant Nature, so it's dealing a fair amount of damage. It's roughly a 2-hit KO on Altaria, on Mega Altaria, which is pretty nice. It takes out Aerodactyl, like a weakened Aerodactyl, picks off a weakened Aerodactyl. I've got Meteor Mash to hit, obviously, his dragon, Fairy Dragon's harder. And I've got the Earthquake for Raikou and the Zen Headbutt for the Weezing. So Metagross should be able to put in a lot of work. You know, if I can play around the Rhyperior, it's pretty nice because I can pass wishes from Alomomola into my AV Metagross, which is just going to make taking on Raikou that much easier. But next up we have Alomomola, and I'm a mixed defensive set this week. I've got a lot in special defense, and the aim of this set is to take on things like the Starmie, things like the Altaria. And the reason I say that is because I'm running Soak this week. Now Soak Soak is basically a move, if you don't know, that turns the typing of the target into water type. So by turning Mega Altaria into a water type, he loses 50% on his fairy moves as he loses stab. So he will still be receiving Pixelate, the 30% Pixelate boost, but he will no longer be receiving stab, which is really nice. So that's nice for me. It also allows me to soak Wheezing, turning it into a water type, therefore allowing me to toxic it. And even if Wheezing switches out and switches back in, if he has no Cleric on his team, Wheezing will remain toxic for the rest of the match, so that's really nice. The great thing about this set is, yes, it's vulnerable to something like a substitute Mega Altaria, but if he is substitute Mega Altaria, as I mentioned in my team building video, he's going to lack coverage, he's not going to be able to take on Metagrosses effectively, and if he's sub, I just pivot out into my Whimsicott and Encore it. So that's really nice. I feel as though the 3 of these members will be able to take on the Mega Altaria pretty effectively. My 5th member is the Whimsicott, and the Whimsicott is max speed, well, enough speed to outspeed base 115, so it's just a little bit off max speed, and the rest to special attack. Basically, the combination of Fairy and Grass hits a lot of his team super effectively. However, the Wheezing is a nuisance, definitely. The Wheezing, I opted to not bring Psychic this week because I felt the momentum gain from U-turn after I unlock him on. After I lock him on into Encore, is just too valuable to give up this week. So I feel as though Whimsicott can put in the finest. You know, if I play around like Aerodactyl cleverly, as it obviously does have speed. Lastly, I have my Zapdos, and Zapdos is my max special attack Zapdos this week. I'm rocking max HP on just about, and the idea behind this set is I'm Volt Switch, Roost, Hidden Power Water, and Defog. Now I can 2-hit KO the Rapira with Hidden Power Water. I'm carrying Chardy Berry, so I do not fear like even an Adamant Band Stone Edge from Rapira, meaning I can 2-hit KO it. And Volt Switch is really nice versus his team. Once he finds out that I am Hidden Power Water, he's going to be kind of reluctant to switch in Rapira versus my Zapdos, allowing me kind of nice momentum around on his team. As I said, it gives me nice momentum versus the Raikou if he's like a subset, as I can Volt Switch, I get a slow Volt Switch off, and just go into Whimsicott and Encore him basically. So that's pretty nice. They form a nice little Volt Turn core right there, and you know, I feel as though it'll put in the work, but that's enough of me rambling. I've been talking for 7.5 minutes. Let's jump into the battle and see what happens. So, first turn, I choose to lead off with my Zapdos. As I said, it's a nice kind of matchup versus his team. If he does choose to lead with Rapira, I can just take it out straight away with 2 HP Waters and Defog Rocks away if that's what he wants to go for, but he just leads off with his Raikou. And right here, he goes for the Volt Switch on my Zapdos. And this damage confirms to me, considering I am no special defense, I'm max HP, but I'm not running any Speed F. He's not, judging by the calc, he's not like an offensive Raikou, which is pretty interesting. So I didn't see any like Life Orb damage or anything of that nature, and the calcs reveal that he is like a weaker Raikou. So right here, he pivots out into his Rapira on my Volt Switch, and that's fine. You know, he switches out right here, going out to Raikou, either perhaps scouting for my Hidden Power Water or predicting me to be choice locked, maybe choice specs Zapdos, which would just be really bad this week. So it probably wasn't that, but even if I was choice locked right there, I would have been switching out anyway, something like my Alamomola, and he switches out to his Raikou again, maybe wanting to gain momentum with my Alamomola right there, but I just stay in and I go for the Hidden Power. So it was either a scout or a switch out, trying to maintain the offensive pressure on my team. Nonetheless, I just go for the HP Water. It does, you know, not too much to Raikou considering I am max special attack, so that confirms he's quite a bulky Raikou. As right here I can just roost up. Raikou isn't doing much to me. He's only Hidden Power right here. A Hidden Power that is not super effective against Zapdos, so this is really interesting because it confirms that it's not Hidden Power fighting, meaning that Weavile's going to have a nicer time taking this Raikou on. It's not Hidden Power Ice, because it's not super effective against my Zapdos. It's not Hidden Power Grass, because it's not resisted. So it could be something like Hidden Power Poison is what I'm thinking, to take on my Whimsicott, as Whimsicott resists Electric. So that was something I was kind of considering at this point. So that was pretty interesting, meaning that, you know, switching in on the potential sub Carmine Raikou could be kind of a bit risky if he does want to. The reason I say switching in is because I could just Encore like a sub or Carmine Raikou, but you know, he has the potential HP poison, so I'm going to have to play around that carefully, kind of scouting damage on other mons, kind of determine what type it is. Anyway, right here I just go for the Volt Switch. getting some momentum on the right cow. As now I can just go into my Weaver, and nothing really wants to take a knockoff at this point, so I'm pretty free to just fire off a knockoff. If he stays in, I knock off the right cow's leftovers, and Thunderbolt's not doing much, but he just switches out to his Wheezing, which appears to be his check to Weaver, and knocking off the black sludge is pretty nice, you know, reducing its longevity this match. As I switch in my Mew, knowing I can comfortably take a Willow. If he wants to go for a Willow right here, I can just synchronize it back to Wheezing, just whittling it down even quicker for my Weaver, which is really nice. But right here, he just goes for the rest, and this kind of confirms that this is his dedicated answer to Weaver, as like a rest Wheezing can comfortably take hits from a Life Orb Weaver, essentially, and just kind of whittle me down with Life Orb Recoil. I will pause it here, sorry, I kind of jumped ahead there. Now, he rests up with his Wheezing, and I go back into my Mew. Now, I kind of figured he'd switch out the Stummy here, and I make the double to my Weaver, catching the Stummy. I effectively Pursuit trapping it here, as I can just fire off the Pursuit. He needs to keep Stummy. Stummy is his way of removing hazards, which otherwise do pretty big work to his team. So that was really nice. I do make the play there, and I catch the Stummy on the Pursuit. On the double there, and I do manage to take him out. So in comes the Wheezing. He just goes for the Sleep Talk here, attempting to burn me or something of that nature. He missed the Willow, which is pretty nice for me, as now I can just go for the Stealth Rock. And I take this opportunity to set up Stealth Rock because, as you can see, it does work to Altaria and Mega Aerodactyl, putting them in range of like a medium mash, and once Mega Altaria is Mega Evolved, as well as, you know, if Aerodactyl switches in a couple more times and Stealth Rocks, then it's in range of BP. Bullet Punch from Metagross or Ice Shard from Weaver. Right here, I go for the Taunt. The reason I go for Taunt is I thought that he may sub up on my... I've seen Leftovers, I've seen Hidden Power, Something, and T-Bolt. I haven't seen Sub or Calm Mind, but it was a possibility, so I just go for the Taunt there, not wanting to let a Raikou set up Calm Minds. If he was likely to sub there, because had I been like Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, you know, Calm Minding whilst I burnt him wouldn't have been that nice for him. It's just better to go for the sub there, considering he is so bulky. So I just Taunt, just in case he wanted to sub, following up by a Calm Mind. Meaning that I could just switch out to my Zapdos, heal up, and then pivot out, kind of rinse and repeat the cycle, or go out to something on my Metagross and just Earthquake twice to scare out the Raikou. But right here, he goes out to his Rhyperior on the Taunt, which is interesting. If I had burnt it, then I would have burnt his Lum, which you'll see in a second. But I just go for the Taunt here, and right here I stay in, just thinking I can get the Willow off, and then Roost up next turn as I do land Willow, and he reveals the Lumberry, which is really nice on his part. He gets a big Mega Horn off, and this is not looking too good for Mew. I want to switch out here. I want to maintain Mew as Death Fodder at some point, so I can just comfortably switch out to my Elemomola. And although we are no, you know, water stab, water offensive move Elemomola, we do scare him out nonetheless, as, you know, Rhyperior has no business staying in on Elemomola. So right here, I can just go for the Soak. Sorry, I wish up this turn, just in case he did want to stay in, but now he's definitely not going to. He's going to switch out to his Raikou, as I just go for the Soak, and the reason this is pretty nice to me, in hindsight, I could have stayed in here, actually, and gone for the Toxic, which would have been pretty nice, as he just, as with my Spidef investment and the fact that Raikou's lost Stab on his Electric type moves, I wouldn't have been doing much, so nonetheless, I just switch out here, knowing that it's important to maintain health on my Elemomola, for things like his Rhyperior and his Aerodactyl. I switch out to my AV Metagross, and the Soak is really nice here, as it just does even less than it would otherwise. It just only does 11%. That's from a Raikou, even though it's not really invested. That's still a pretty strong Mon, so the Soak was pretty nice for me there. He just switches back out to his Rhyperior. I eat up the Earthquake, and at this point, Rhyperior still doesn't want to stay in, just risking it. As right here, I just wish up in case he did want to stay in and proceed to Earthquake me. Now right here, Mega Altaria goes for the substitute on a potential Toxic or Soak from my Elemomola, as I do go for the Soak, and that's fine. Whilst he has shown Sub, which blocks my Soak, that does kind of back up what I was saying earlier in the building process when I mentioned that if he is running Substitute, he's more than likely running Roost and then Fairy Stab. So he's either going to be like a special attacking set with Hyper Voice and Flamethrower, or he's going to be like a mono attacking with DD and Return. If that's the case, then my Metagross takes it on. My Whimsicott can do kind of really screw it over with Encore. So right here, I just go out to my Metagross, knowing that I can kind of determine his set with my Metagross as he just roosts up. Now this will just allow me to get off a Meteor Mash and just kind of scout his set. So he goes for the Frustration, so he would have gone for EQ or Fire Blast if he did have it. So this more than likely reveals he is like a Dragon Dance return set. So I just stay in and I Meteor Mash once more, knowing that, you know, Mega Altaria can't really do much to me at this point. I go for the Zen Head, but I just miss out. That was a roll there, and I don't actually manage to take out the Weezing, but I do get the flinch, which is pretty nice for me. So that's unfortunate on his part. If he had got the 33% chance to click Will-O-Wisp with a Sleep Talk and land the Will-O-Wisp, then that would have been unfortunate for my Metagross. Of course, you know, weakening it, cutting its attack in half, which would have been unfortunate, but it wasn't massive in the big scheme of things. But for sure, like if he had got a 33% chance, then it would have reduced Metagross's effectiveness for sure in the rest of the match. So right here, I go for the Bullet Punch, not wanting to risk a miss on any of my inaccurate moves that could hit the Weezing, and in comes the Rhyperior as he makes a nice double. I'm not going to stay in with my Metagross because I can't KO the Rhyperior, and Metagross is just so nice with his Mega Altaria and his Aerodactyl, so I switch out to my Alomomola as he switches out to his Raikou. Now, I kind of figured that he'd predict me to switch out to my Alomomola here. I make the mid-ground play by going out to my Zapdos. If he did predict me to switch out to Alomomola, he was either going to go for Earthquake or he was going to double out to his Raikou. And the fact that I had shown Alomomola as my switch into Rhyperior kind of made me think that he was going to try and double out to Raikou, just to kind of put himself back in the game, so to speak. So Zapdos was a pretty nice middle ground for me, and so I do get that right. He just vaults out here as I roost up, and right here he brings out his Aerodactyl. Now this was interesting. He's unnerved, so my Shardy Berry won't work. But at this point in the match, I was kind of sacking off, not so much sacking off my Zapdos, but I am in range to die from a Stone Edge. Considering Unnerve renders my Berry useless, but had I switched out straight out into something like my Alomomola on, you know, a potential Stone Edge, which would have been a pretty obvious play, he could have Hone Clawsed, he could have like subbed up or Toxiced or something of that nature. So I really felt as though just Volt Switching right here was the best play, as he subs, and that's kind of interesting. You know, I didn't really get a chance to determine his set, but that sub was definitely interesting. So right here, he switches out, fearing my Encore, as in comes the Raikou. As I just go for the Encore because it is a pretty safe play on my part. If he wants to switch out, he's just taking chip damage with the Stealth Rocks, so that's really nice for me. As now I just U-turn out, getting a nice little 10% off on the Raikou, and I just kind of sack off my Mew at this point. The reason being, he did show the hidden power there, so that was more than likely hidden power poison, as he did go for it versus the versus the Whimsicott. So that was nice rep on his part, but you know, we're not staying in, we're scouting for that. So I just sack off Mew here, and now I can bring in my Weavile, and Weavile can pretty much knock off this Raikou here. I can live like his weakened Volt Switch at this point, because he's not invested, but he shows off the rest. Now rest Raikou, that's pretty interesting. At this point I was kind of not sacking off the Weavile, but I didn't really need Weavile. If Weavile died here to a Volt Switch, then Metagross took on the Raikou. Metagross BP took out the Aerodactyl. Metagross 1v1s the Metagross plus Alomomola plus Metagross plus Whimsicott 1v1 the Altaria, and Whimsicott beat the Rhyperior, as well as Alomomola beat the Rhyperior, as well as Zapdos actually beat the Rhyperior. So even if Weavile were to go down here, I still would have been able to take out the rest of his mons, but I do actually get the crit. I get the crit flinch right here, which is huge. Well, it's not huge in the big scheme of things, but it's definitely annoying. That was really annoying for Pom, because, you know, there's a chance that Raikou could have, you know, again, he had a 33% chance to Sleep Talk or Volt Switch. Hidden Power Poison would not have been able to take me out from that range. Icicle Crash 2 hit KO'd regardless, considering it was a crit. It would have done 60% without the crit. So I had knocked off his lefties, so it would have 2-hit KO him regardless. So again, he had a 30% chance to sleep talk a Volt Switch. So had he slept talk the Volt Switch, then Weavile would have gone down to that. But as I said, the last remaining mons on my team could have handled his team had Weavile gone down. But right here, that's fine. Weavile gets another kill. And at this point, I can just Icicle Crash once again, doing huge damage to the Rhyperior, guaranteeing, you know, Metagross just definitely cleans up at this point. As I get another flinch on the Rhyperior, now this is just adding insult to injury. I really didn't need Weavile to be sticking around here, as Metagross just won at this point, but it will get a few more kills to its name, so that's pretty nice. Going down to Life Orb damage eventually. In comes the Mega Altaria, and I can just send in my Metagross and comfortably take it out. Now I did opt to go for the BP here, not wanting to risk the Meteor Mash miss. If he wanted to like DD and then DD up and then return the next turn on my second Meteor Mash and he crits, you know, then Metagross goes down and we're in an uncomfortable position. So I just opted to go for the Bullet Punch. It was my safest play, as it did 2-hit KO regardless. You see I got a crit there. Again, the crit would have only done like somewhere between 40 and 50%. It would have 2-hit KO regardless. No, more than 40%. More like sort of 45-ish%, I want to say. So again, meaningless crit, but you know, it's kind of annoying. Like, I didn't need the crit, but you know, I got it. As you can see, Frustration only does 26, so I am able to take the Altaria out with the second Bullet Punch there, and there we have the match against Pom. Very good player. I definitely enjoyed this match. However, the flinch on the Raikou at the end, very unfortunate for Pom. I personally don't think it changed the outcome of the game, as the combination of Metagross, Alomomola, and Whimsicott were just too much for the rest of his team to take on at that point. But nonetheless, you know, flinches, crits, no one likes them. They shouldn't be in the game. They're dumb, and you know, it sucks. But sometimes that's just part of Mons. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed. I personally did. I was glad to see Alomomola put in a little bit of work with the Soak, weakening Raikou's attack. Didn't really take advantage of Mega Altaria, unfortunately, but that's fine because the rest of my Mons were able to take it on. Sub Altaria was pretty good versus my team, to be honest, so Soak may see its day another time. But I was happy to see Weavile put in the work. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of my team. Just quickly, definitely go and check out Aberforth. I will be leaving his description in the team below. Have a look at it from his perspective, obviously, and check out the rest of the NPL. I'll be leaving the NPL's link in the description. You know, really cool group of guys and really solid players. Some of the best in the format for sure. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.